everybody, and welcome to my first ever Friday Reads video. I always love watching these on BookTube, so I figured I might as well do one to kind of tell you guys what I'm reading, so that maybe you can get a gist and understand as to how I read. I know I talked about this earlier in like my January wrap-up, where I talked about how I'd read like 25 books and how I was able to read so many. Granted, I work predominantly on the weekends, and I usually work really long hours on the weekends, so actually I read more during the week than I do on the weekend. But whatever the case, here are the books I'm going to be reading this weekend. I'm currently reading and simultaneously listening to Musicophilia by Oliver Sacks. This is very different from stuff I usually read. This is a non-fiction book. It is actually a kind of medicine/psychology book about music and the brain. And it's about when music and the brain don't necessarily get along. So you have things like synesthesia, music amnesia, musical hallucinations, and then I know a lot of the back half is on music therapy, which is something I'm really fascinated in. I've played an instrument or sang since I was really young, so this stuff is absolutely fascinating to me. The audiobook is also narrated by John Lee, who narrated Ken Follett's Pillars of the Earth books, and so I'm a huge fan of the narrator, and he actually makes getting through this material easier than trying to read it, because I'm not very good with paying attention to books like these usually. Next, I'm continuing a little pledge I made to myself, which is to read a chapter a night of Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings. I got this and I was loving it, and I kept going through it. This also is a very dense book because it's so long, and it's definitely epic high fantasy, so you really need to pay attention when you read it. But I found reading a chapter a night is good because it keeps me sort of in the story, and it doesn't put any pressure on me to read it really fast or anything. And the chapters are usually 10 plus pages of, you know, those super thin mass market pages with itty bitty type. But a chapter a night has been proving pretty good, so I will end up having read at least 3 chapters by the end of the weekend, unless, you know, a couple of the chapters get so good that I just like need to keep going. But a chapter a night has been good. Next up I have The Prisoner of Heaven by Kalosuri Zefon. This is the third and I think final book in his Cemetery of Forgotten Books series. I actually just recently read the short story that comes between The Angel's Game, which is book 2, and this. So I did not actually start this because I wanted to read the e-novella first, and I absolutely adored it. I thought it was really fun, really cool, and it's more about the origin of the actual Cemetery of Forgotten Books. So of The Prisoner of Heaven, I'm going to start this. It's a very slim book. It's not even 300 pages, so I have the feeling I'm going to finish this on this weekend, because I tear through these books. I think they're so much fun. I am also currently listening to an audiobook on my iPhone that I borrowed from the library that is called Romancing Miss Bronte. I'm over halfway through it, so I'm sort of listening to that in conjunction with Musicophilia, and I'm liking it. It's actually kind of interesting. And finally, the book that I am really right now currently reading and am the most excited about is Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. As you can see, I have been tabbing the book so that I can keep track of plot points, find things that I think might be important, or just really beautiful passages. This book, you guys, I've been dying for this book for so long, and I've kept eyeing it at work because I wanted it, and then I got contacted on the YA Book Exchange because I'd put up an arc that I didn't want anymore, and I got contacted for it, and she says, I have an extra copy of Throne of Glass if you want it, and I was like, yes please. Yes, please. I'm like, oh my god, I will ship you out this book right now. Give me your address. I want Throne of Glass so badly. So thank you to Alyssa for trading with me, because I have been dying for this book. I am loving this book so much that last night I was passing out while reading the book, and that was the only time I stopped because I was literally falling asleep on the book. Oh my god, you guys, this book. I know I sort of make a pledge to myself to not review series until I've finished the series. That's why, even though I've read things like Shadow and Bone and the Lunar Chronicles, you guys haven't seen reviews on them because I haven't finished the entire series and I want to judge the entire series. But I'm probably just going to make a review for Throne of Glass when I finish, because I'm so excited about this book. I can't even, oh my god, this book. Oh my god, this book. I'm not even done and I'm in love with it. So yes, this is what my weekend is going to consist of. Hopefully I will at least finish Prisoner of Heaven and Musicophilia. I'm very likely going to finish Throne of Glass. I'm not worried about finishing Throne of Glass. And I have Crown of Midnight actually already on my Kindle because I borrowed it from the library. So that'll be my weekend. But that's it for me right now, so until next time, you guys. Cheers.